Trevor Brown. I'm Dean of the John Glenn College of Public Affairs at Ohio State University, and I'm here to talk to you about careers in the public sector, pathways that you can pursue with degrees like the ones we offer, our Bachelor's of Arts and our Bachelor's of Science, as well as our graduate professional degrees. I'm joined today by Jen Miller, who is the Executive Director of the Ohio League of Women Voters, and also a proud 2008 graduate of what was then the Glenn School, now the Glenn College. She did an MA, a Master's of Arts in Public Policy and Management. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. So how did you wind up in this world? And I asked this knowing that you had a prior life. You're a magical singer. You have a lovely voice. And one of your true talents is your ability to fill our ears with beautiful sounds. How did you go from music to public affairs and elections?
Oh my goodness, I did. And if people take one thing away from this, it should be to follow their hearts and do what they're interested and passionate about, because the pathway will find them. So I went to Capitol. I moved to Columbus from a small town in Ohio to go to Capitol, and I had degrees in classical vocal music, and I had another degree in history and ethnic studies. And then during that time, I did a lot with, the Native American Indian Center. I started to really get to know diverse communities because I came from really a pretty homogenous small town, and that really just kind of opened my worldview a lot. My first job out of college, the real first cool job, was Music in the Air, which was part of Columbus Rec and Parks. So helping start things like Festival Latino, or I booked Short Enough Sunday Jazz. There used to be something called the Rhythm and Food Festival. And I really, really loved it. This idea of bringing people together in the parks for music was magic. Then I went to the King Arts Complex and did programming there, African American Performing and Cultural Arts Center. And I loved that. And I just started to realize that I was still young, I was in my 20s, and I just thought, I just feel like I need more education. And I had my professor in history always thought that I would be a professor. And he was the one that let me know about the program, the arts policy program. One day he just called me up and wanted to go to lunch, and we talked about it, and I applied, and I got a full ride, which was great because I was a single mom. And so I needed that full ride. And while I was doing that, I became more and more concerned about climate change. And I know, like, college students kind of came of age, like, climate change has always been a thing, right? But it was still something that we were becoming more and more concerned about. And as a parent, I was getting concerned about that. So I started taking environmental economics classes and all kinds of things over at the Glenn School. And I just kind of, honestly, this might not be the right advice because I spent way too much time, but I took so many classes, and then my goal was just to be versatile. Give me as many skills as I can get. And when I was coming out of grad school, it was in the middle of a recession. 2008 was in the middle of the recession.
Yep.
And arts organizations had positions, but they didn't have positions doing the kind of creative programming I wanted. And so I ended up going to Sierra Club and doing climate policy for 10 years. And again, a lot of the classes that I had at the Glenn School were super helpful, thinking about the legal foundations, thinking about the environmental economics. But the arts policy helped a lot too, because we studied moments in time when the National Endowment for the Arts was going to get cut, and what advocates did to protect it, right? So I felt like I had this really great balance. And working down at the State House helps especially on environmental issues, where I think most Ohioans agree in concepts of clean water, or having public land protections, or even just saving money through energy efficiency. It was really hard to get work done. And I realized that I wanted to just fight for democracy. And that's how I got to the League.
Great. Well, I love the personal, the journey and the arc. I want to come back and unpack some of it a little bit. So
yep.
Let's talk about going to school first. Were your parents, your community supportive of your educational choices? Was this the logical path for you, or did you feel like you were diverging from the life's course that others had chosen for you?
Oh yeah, my parents, I'm the youngest of four kids, and my parents and my siblings have always said that I had my own take on the world. So no one had any they just knew I was going to do what I was going to do. So there was no expectations. A very, very, very supportive family, and just so grateful for that.
Good. What about the switch from music to this other world of advocacy and policy? Was that something where your friends, your family, et cetera, said, "Oh yeah, that's what Jen's going to do," or did people say, "What is this left turn?"
So I definitely think what was most funny is, my big sister has known since she was in the second grade that she wanted to be a teacher, and she literally started saving for college when she was in the second grade. And teaching is one of those jobs where it's really, the path is really clear, right? And then there was me, and I just continue, and I'm sure I will continue to do this swerving thing. So I think they were a little puzzled, but I had really grown up outdoors. I spent every weekend fishing and hiking and swimming and boating. And so I think it made sense on some level that I would end up doing that.
Okay. Favorite classes at Ohio State, either in the arts policy, in arts education administration, or in the Glenn School.
So we did this applied class, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was an applied class that Andy Keeler taught, along with some others, and we advised the city of Delaware on their urban forestry plan,
Mm-hmm.
Which was really cool just because it was super practical. I took yoga. It was my first time ever to take yoga. It was like my only B. Can you believe that? I got a B in yoga because
Yoga?
The teacher didn't think that my journals were honest enough or something. I don't know, but I did enjoy the yoga. I got to take classes from Mary Marvel, and the evaluation class was really hard, but it was really good. And then anything with Margaret Wizimierski over in the arts policy side, just because she was the one who was really figuring out how to help the arts community defend itself from some really ugly attacks in the culture wars.
Least favorite classes?
You
don't have to name names.
I don't remember. Honestly, the thing is I really love classes, so I don't know if I had any. My least favorite class of all was always theory, but that was like in undergrad where I always thought I was going to fail. And it was so hard. It was 5 days a week at 8 a.m. And that's really hard as an undergrad. But I don't remember at Ohio State, honestly. I would say another set of classes I loved was I did several leadership classes. And I really loved those. And in fact, leadership books and leadership science is something that I still enjoy a lot.
Great. So fast forward now, you're coming out, and as you say, you walked into a recession. Graduates right now will be facing a similar challenge. What advice do you have for folks about how to navigate into a job market that looks like it's going the wrong direction?
Yeah, it's a really, really important question. I would just straight up say, first off, just figure out how what you took in class can be practically applied places, and be creative on how you can use the tools and the tool bag that you've created at school, how you can use that in a lot of different locations. Two, I think you do really need to think about your passion. I think that brain surgeons make more than teachers, unless you really hate being a brain surgeon potentially, so like, I think you need to work your passion and be a part of that. And then I think you need to advocate for yourself and know your value and know your worth. So I think there's a lot of different things. But don't be afraid to throw your name out there for things that don't seem to make sense. So when I was applying at Sierra Club, it was, they called me and they said, this is so confusing because you have all the skill sets we want. It's just in the arts and not in the environment. And I was like, yeah, but all of it transfers, and I was able to explain how I saw that transfer. So I think that transferability and that flexibility is so critical.
What comes next for Jen Miller?
Making the 2020 election work as best as possible. Here's my thing. I change a lot, and I think I'll stay here for a while. I think a successful person decides, they just check in with themselves and they say, am I doing, and this is where I should be right now. And that I could see myself staying at the League of Women Voters for a long time. With that said, I also could see myself doing some extra education while I was here. So not quite sure, but fun adventures, always learning. And that's all I got.
You're making us proud, and we're thrilled to see you doing so well and serving the cause of inspiring citizenship and developing leadership, which are the motto of the Glenn College, and education for citizenship, which is the motto of the university. So thanks for your good work, and thanks for sharing time with us.
Thank you so much.